Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're tackling something with a real dual focus. We've got sources looking back at the deaths of Jesus' apostles Vifo via mitume, and then jumping forward to a contemporary figure in Kenya, Dr. John Talai Mahamudi.
That's right. And the thread connecting them is really this idea of, let's say, spiritual authority and prestige. When you look at the apostles' ends, separating verifiable history from later legend is tricky.
It really is, because as you said, a lot of that later tradition wasn't just about remembering, it was about building prestige for different church centers, wasn't it?
Precisely. Which brings us to the modern angle, Apostle Mahamudi. He's quite unique because he operates with this dual mandate, we're calling it. He's an academic, a lecturer at Nairobi University.
Right, a history lecturer, no less.
Exactly, and at the same time, a prominent spiritual leader. It's a fascinating blend.
Okay, so let's start with the history, the apostles. What do we actually know for sure from, say, the New Testament?
Well, it's surprisingly brief. We get a very clear, almost stark account of James, the son of Zebedee, killed by the sword under Herod Agrippa around 44 A.D. That's solid.
And then Judas Iscariot?
Ah, yes, Judas. Even there's conflict, isn't there? Hanging versus some kind of gruesome fall. So right away, uncertainty creeps in. After that, the New Testament is mostly silent on how the others died.
So the rest comes from later traditions, church history.
Mostly, yeah. And you see this debate. Some scholars find early hints suggesting martyrdom for figures like Peter is, probable. Others are more skeptical, pointing out most detailed stories popped up maybe a century later.
Okay, but some are considered high probability, like Paul.
Paul, yes. His martyrdom in Rome seems very likely. And crucially, probably by beheading. As a Roman citizen, he'd likely be spared crucifixion. Early writers like Clement of Rome back this up.
And Peter, also Rome?
Also Rome, yes, around the same time, maybe 64, 68 AD. The historical probability of his martyrdom there is quite high, based on consistent early testimony.
But the famous part is the upside-down crucifixion.
Right. And that specific detail, while powerful, is generally seen as a later addition. A legend emphasizing his humility, feeling unworthy to die exactly like Jesus. It's about the impact of the story.
So suffering and humility conferring authority. Got it. But wasn't there one apostle who got away, died naturally?
Ah, you mean John, son of Zebedee? Yes, he's the traditional exception. The only one of the original 12 believed to have died a natural death, probably in Ephesus, quite old.
But even his story isn't simple, is it? There's the exile to Patmos.
Exactly. And the rather dramatic legend about him surviving being thrown into boiling oil. So even the one who died naturally supposedly endured horrific suffering first. It fits the pattern.
It really does seem like claiming an apostle's dramatic end or their relics was a major source of status for a city or a church.
Absolutely. That geopolitical motivation, that quest for spiritual prestige is likely why we have so many conflicting traditions for apostles like Matthew or Simon the Zealot. Different regions wanted their apostle.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense historically. So let's pivot to the modern day. How does this idea of authority play out with someone like Dr. John Talai Mahamudi? Let's start with his academic side.
Right. So he's Dr. John Talai Mahamudi, a lecturer in the history department at Nairobi University. His specialty is broad world history, African kingdoms, ancient civilizations, global conflicts. It's serious academic work.
And that academic rigor you're suggesting feeds into his spiritual role.
Definitely. His ministry platform operates primarily through two main channels, the Oasis Online Bible School Kenya, or OOBSK, and Blood of Christ Ministries.
Okay. OBSK and Blood of Christ Ministries.
Yes, and his focus there is very much on systematic theological education. He emphasizes training leaders through the lens of the fivefold ministry described in Ephesians: apostles, prophets, evangelists, pastors, teachers.
Interesting. Now, one specific point our sources raised was about affiliations. There was some confusion, perhaps.
Yes, we looked into that specifically. His work, his materials, they are consistently associated with Oasis, OOBSK, and Blood of Christ Ministries.
So what about Hope in Christ Ministries?
There appears to be no definitive connection there. It seems likely it's being confused with a different, though geographically close, entity in Nairobi called New Hope in Christ Ministries International, or NHICMI. They seem distinct.
Okay, that clarification is helpful. So, pulling it all together then. The ancient apostles' legacy, it seems, rests less on the debated specifics of their deaths.
And more on their unwavering conviction in the resurrection, even facing death. That's the theological bedrock.
Right. And in the modern context, someone like Apostle Mahamudi demonstrates a different kind of authority, one grounded in, PhD-level scholarly rigor applied directly to spiritual teaching.
Exactly. It shows this perceived need, perhaps, for intellectual depth and systematic training in contemporary ministry leadership.
So here's something for you to think about. If claiming apostolic relics or martyrdom sites was about gaining regional prestige back then, what kinds of things confer spiritual prestige or authority for ministry networks today, especially in dynamic, complex places like Nairobi? What does that look like now? Something to consider.